We're gonna watch it fight for a minute at a time with John and Niall, and I guess you just rhyme with Bat Minutes!
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Bat Minutes and Robin. This is the podcast where, with our powers combined, earth, wind, water, fire, and heart, we talk about each minute of Batman and Robin, 1 minute at a time. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
I am your other host, John Parker, and surely I'm Captain Planet. I'm the environmentalist, vegetarian, animal lover.
Don't have the green hair anymore, though.
No, I did once have green hair.
Yeah, it's good green mullets. Actually, like Captain Planet's kind of got a very alternative look to him.
Captain Planet is very 2022 queer club vibe. Everyone's a green mullet.
Well, but beyond that, of course, with our powers combined, we can now summon a guest for this one of the last minute of footage of this movie. So we have.
That's right, it's me, your guest, Unit Production Manager. Sorry.
Hey, we should have reached out to him.
It up, sorry. Unit Production Manager Barry Waldman. Yeah, sorry.
Here he is.
I had to give it a try.
He's just like, this is my first job. Well, yeah, I didn't manage it all that well. You want. No, that is the voice of Austin Pryor from Malkovich, Minute.
It is I.
Yeah, and in case people can't guess from that title, it is a minutes by minutes about being John Malkovich.
That's right. That's right. Yes, the long stalled, hopefully arriving back by the time you listen to this. Malkovich, minute. I have been continuing to record, but I don't want to put more stuff out until I can just put them out continuously. And my first foray into the whole world of movies by minutes, and it's been great. And I've had a couple of people who were involved in the movie on it, and I've had these people, John Parker and Niall McGowan, you may have heard of.
I hate them.
As my as my Lucky Charm inaugural guests, and it's been great fun, and I'm dying to get back into it.
Of course, people, long-time listeners out there might know that the last minute footage of the movie is usually like a standing order for one Chrysanthi Tan.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they couldn't make it. They sent an apologetic email saying, very busy, keep me in mind, though, let me know when they're doing next season. And I was, being a big fan of Chrysanthi, I was disappointed to hear that they wouldn't be on this year, but very happy that I got to be here in their stead.
But you better play instruments while you're here.
Yeah, you've got to get out the violin, start playing along as we're talking.
Yeah.
They are tough shoes to fill, so I will just not try.
It was an annoying thing because it was like it was almost a rematch for me. I had in my mind because there was a point in the last minute last season that I brought up a thing to Chrysanthi, and they just completely disagreed with me. And now there's a direct comparison to what I was talking about in this minute. And I was like, if Chrysanthi was here, I'd be able to go, this is what I'm talking about. But
that's why Chrysanthi turned it down. It's like, I'm not speaking to Niall again.
Yeah. They've got beef with you, Niall.
Just thought, if I go on, he's going to prove me wrong. So
fight.
But we'll get to that when we get to it. That's towards the tail end of the minute. But this minute is, of course, minute 120, which opens with a partnership proposition, and it ends a minute later with some credits sliding into position. Just say too, John, this is a big moment for us because this is the final moment of actual footage of the of the 90s set of live action Batman movies. This was
the big four.
Yeah, the big four. This was originally our remit was to just do these four. And so this would have been our last minute, but we're doing more now. But like originally, this would have been our, we would have just had 5 minutes of credits after this, and we'd have been like, all right, we're out.
If only we'd stuck to that, eh?
Yeah.
No. It's lovely to keep going. But it is very sad. And I'd forgotten because, I made my notes a few days ago for this, and you reminded me just before we hit record, and it sort of it brought my mood down. I was like, oh no, it's the last footage.
I'm in the mood. I bought myself a little pink G&T with ice here. So I thought that would be an appropriate way to see out the movie.
Very
and
good.
here's me just drinking some orange squash. Right?
I mean, there's bound to be something orange and squash in this movie at some point.
All I've got in front of me is a bottle of Gaviscon in case I get indigestion during the podcast.
Hey, is it Batman branded?
Let me just check. No. I could, if I squint, I could tell myself that the man on the label is Arnie.
There you go.
I should again though. We always ask up front, Austin, because obviously Batman, Robin, very divisive movie. So we kind of have to gauge what's your opinion of this film before we even get into talking about the minute.
Well, John, do you want to cover your ears?
Oh no, I know what's coming.
I know. Look, yeah, I think I was saying to you two in the green room of our previous podcast that like by the time 1997 rolled around, I was 17, and this just held no interest for me, and I had already kind of bailed out. I had bailed on like Batman Forever, which I didn't hate, but I was just like, why did they go that direction? You know, when Burton showed us the way, you know what I mean? I didn't know at the time that Batman Returns had kind of underperformed and been controversial for the, you know, kid friendly side of things, and the, you know, so I didn't kind of understand the corporate machinations for the reasons to go a different direction. So I was just like, this is madness, because what I had was like I was going to say the shining light, but it's the opposite of that. It's the dark, brooding version of the animated series. You know, what we now call Batman the Animated Series, which of course at the time was just called Batman.
Yeah, or BTAS. That was called
BTAS. Yeah.
BTAS. Yeah. But I don't know when it, you know, got that moniker. It's obviously just for distinguishing it, but I kind of think there's a generation of people who think that that's the name of that show. You know, like a generation of people who are coming up thinking Star Wars was always called A New Hope, and it's like, no, if it was called A New Hope, we wouldn't be here talking about Star Wars, because that's a terrible name and it would have failed.
The thing is, that cartoon though, well, the first iteration of it didn't even have the title come up at the start. No, it was just literally a picture of Batman. You're like,
thing.
Yeah, it's like it could be called whatever you want, I guess.
Yeah, and which was seen as so original when it was ripped off by known hack.
Yeah. Christopher Nolan.
Nolan added
the worst
again.
of all.
Not. I just the absolutely iconic intro of that, and for me, like when that show started in '92, kind of after Batman Returns, there was no going back. You know what I mean? That was the show, and even I suppose the animated series had already kind of declined by that point, or slipped into the other format that I hadn't really been paying attention to. So I wasn't, you know. So at the time, I never saw it, is my point, is my very long-winded way of saying I had never seen Batman and Robin until a certain podcast came along that I wanted to enhance my enjoyment of. So I had to go and watch the blasted thing. Yeah. And look, I enjoyed myself because my expectations were low and I was having fun, and I had already listened to a couple of episodes of the podcast and kind of knew what to expect, and obviously, and I had seen some memes and stuff, you know. So like, I don't hate it, but I don't like, there's nothing for me here, really, you know? Because like, if you say, for me, hearing the appeal of this film lies in the kind of camp 60s throwback. Yeah. Like, I've been watching the original 1966 episodes, and this ain't that. This is way too, like, it's what you two have been talking about all season long, which is that like it doesn't go far enough to be super camp, and it doesn't pull it back to be super grounded, you know. So it's kind of it hedges its bets, and I don't think you could make something like the 60s show in the 1990s, because there was just too much knowing kind of like it was the 90s, you know, everything had to be cool.
Everything was cool.
And everything and everything in retrospect was so like shockingly uncool. Everything to do with extreme and, you know, super.
It felt
there were snowboards everywhere.
It felt like what it
there
was.
There were so many snowboards.
A bunch of old men trying to give you what they thought was cool.
Yeah.
But within the minute though, we do have Barbara now putting her hand out. I was gonna say like for a handout because I guess what would come with this deal is like, okay, we're partners. I also get free room and board for the foreseeable future. So I'm gonna live off you, Bruce Wayne, but I'm asking your ward first if it's okay.
Ask your mom if I can live in her basement. It's they already just seem to have moved past that as well with like in the previous minute you know, Bruce says like you are going back to school, young lady, or whatever
which she should do.
And has there ever been a oh yeah, I was going to say, has there ever been a superhero that's going to school as well? Of course, Spider-Man famously is balancing high school with hijinks. But yeah, so like there's precedent for that. That's fine, especially when there's two others on the team to take up the slack. You know,
I mean, dude, even in like
education's important.
In the Batman animated series, it was like swaths of episodes where Robin wasn't there, and it was always like, well, Dick's off to university. Like he's not around crime fighting all the time. He goes off to get his education sorted. But
why not go to Gotham U? And that's fine. You don't have to travel.
Yeah.
But I also appreciate too when Barbara puts this out there. Dick has a moment of hesitation where he's like, okay. It's like, what's he hesitating for? Like, there's no skin off his back. Like,
no, you want to know what I think it is, right? Her doing this, offering the hand of partnership, but in a work sense, right, is essentially friend zoning him. He's like, well, if you accept this handshake, it's over.
He's like, I guess I never had a chance.
yeah. It's like, fine, I'll work with you then.
I'll say too, I appreciate they got a good grip, both of them. It's a good firm handshake.
I'm not into people who practically crush your hand though.
No. There's people who are like, you know, so desperate to not be thought of as somebody with a wet fish handshake that they just, that they just like crush you, and it's like, it's a jerk power move, which we'll get to in a minute. There's a jerk power move coming up, but of course, you know, let's just pour one out for the handshake. When was the last time any of us has shaken anybody's
nowadays
hand?
It has to be the weird elbow bump thing.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
I think people are starting to kind of flirt with the odd fist bump as well nowadays.
Well,
I'd just rather never touch another human being. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I'm not big on hugging. I'm not big on any of this. I'm a person who grew up watching Seinfeld, so I think that's all instilled in my DNA of like, it's entirely too much touching going on with people.
The thing I hate is when people do that. When they do it in England, that European like kiss thing, you know, where you kiss. Because I always think, some people sort of kiss one side, like, mwah. And then some people do both. And I'm never sure, like, am I supposed to do both? What's the etiquette with it? So sometimes you go to do the second one and they turn to walk away. It's like, oh, no.
Well, I'm on the other end of that spectrum, I guess. I'm a hugger, I'm a kisser, I'm a lover in the thing. And, but I get it, and it's all changing now. It's all changing in favor of the introverts.
We're winning.
Everything about handshakes too just reminds me
you
of
won
that.
the phone wars. Nobody makes phone calls or receives phone calls anymore. You won that one.
We're slowly undermining everything you've worked hard to build.
I became briefly fascinated with the hands though, because you are like, is this actually Chris O'Donnell and Alicia Silverstone's hands. I think it actually is because the skin tones match exactly. It's like very much like it'd be just weird for someone to like, okay, you're Robin's hand now, so have to put on like the little beads and like the little wristlet thing, and just be like, or sorry, bracelet. And then it's like, okay, now you're Alicia Silverstone. Okay. Roll up your sleeve. There you go. We're done.
The reason I reckon you're right, and it probably is because, I mean, it's not like a difficult shot. It would have taken seconds. Just like, here you go, boom, hands done, moving on. Yeah. So, it's not like that to set it up.
I think I do appreciate, too, I guess because Barbara Wilson is supposed to be rough and tumble biker girl, her nails aren't very well. They're not that they're not very well done up. They're just not really touched up at all.
They're dissing her now. What?
It's like, what kind of a job was done here?
Manicure shaming.
Not as good as your nails, Niall, but still, who's are?
I mean, something really like this. The reason Alicia Silverstone's career didn't go very well after this is because people have seen from this shot, like, oh, her gnarled nails. She's clearly been chewing them and stuff.
She can't be the lead in our movie. She looks like trash.
I was always advised, too, like when going into job interviews and stuff, it's like in the week beforehand, don't bite your nails. Make sure you take care of your nails because employers will look at your hands. And if they see that your nails aren't kept well, that's a thing they'll use against you. It's like, really?
Oh my
if
God.
they use that against me, I don't want to work for them.
It could be maybe if you're down to brass tacks of like you've got a dozen very qualified, equally good people, and you're like, I need some way to judge them. The fingernails it is.
That's probably how it started. Whereas I would just go with feeling. Who are you vibing with?
Yeah. But I guess there's a good vibe between these folks here because even
well, I was kind of more than the hands. I was distracted by the face. Chris O'Donnell is like really, he's really earning his paycheck with his face acting here, and I kind of had to rewind it a couple of times. Like, what is that about it? It's like he's doing this. Well, he's doing like a mini Joker face. He's really pushing his smile up, giving us those like pronounced kind of cheek ditches. I don't know what you call them. And he's got a very weird smile. And I think this is kind of part of this shtick that a lot of movie stars do, where they kind of feel they have to have weird mannerisms and weird smiles and tics and quirks and stuff, And Harrison Ford pointing and putting the one finger up and stuff. And the head bob from and it made me think, is this kind of Chris O'Donnell's thing, where he's doing this very kind of quirky smile here that doesn't seem to be based on expressing an emotion. It just seems to be based on like, hey, look how cute I am, and
that's what it is.
Guess it's kind of it's kind of kissy lips as well. It's like he would never make this shape with his face if the camera wasn't on him.
Ever since you started that as well, in the back of my mind, I've been singing Lady Gaga's Poker Face, but with the words Joker Face put in.
Yeah.
Joker face.
Joker face.
That seems like it's a YouTube video. If that's not been made already, then somebody ought to get on it.
Of course.
In terms of face acting, though, I think it might actually be my favorite moment of Alicia Silverstone in this whole movie. The little look she gives to Bruce, that little head tilt of like, like, it's very, it's particularly in the climax of this movie. She's so kind of dour and snarky a lot of the time.
Yeah,
it was just nice to see her being kind of effervescent again and been like, hey, I'm just excited to be part of it, and just having a little bit of like, you can't turn me down, right? And it was like,
oh yeah. Niall, do you walk up to women and say you should smile more? No, but I know what you mean. She gives this it's a kind of a cutesy, playful kind of.
It's a real like, I can't say no to you, Alicia. Cher Horowitz, no way, come on.
But yeah, so then Bruce, he's all in, and he does this big, this power move of like they've put their hands. They've shaken hands, and he just like slaps his big Batman hand on top of it.
Well, you got to remember who the daddy is,
Exactly, yeah. Which is just like, that's a weak move as a power move, because if you have control, you don't constantly have to exert control. If you've got the power, you don't need to constantly display the power. It should be. That's true. It should be like it should be understood.
He's that powerful. He doesn't need to even join in. He could just give a little nod.
Yeah, that'd be more like it. Yeah.
It goes in for like a major power move and like karate chops their hands.
Yeah.
It's like if your wrists can survive that, you can be part of the team.
I like that he gives his.
It's a hazing.
I like that he gives his approval. You know, it's like, fine, you can stay too. It's becoming a goddamn orphanage in here. It's just orphans left and right. It's turning into, Niall, of all things I've been talking about lately, Miami Connection. Just orphans, just everywhere.
But that's kind of what Alfred should be saying, because he's the.
He's getting fixed now with like, oh, you will have to clean up after yourself though, Barbara, because I'm already busy enough.
No, he's got more washing to do now. He's got to do her clothes.
I just nearly died.
Can you do your own kung fu laundry like Master Dick?
I would love it if, of all people,
Kung
Alfred
fu
turned
laundry.
around and just went, I don't think we can have another person in the house. It's like, no.
There should be the time though he should be like, so wait a minute, you opened that disc? Like, yeah. I told you not to open it. Get out of this house.
Specifically told you.
Yeah, no, it's instructions for me to be like, I didn't do such thing.
He should come in and be like, so when's my brother getting here?
As
far as he
call
knows,
Wilfred, because you definitely got that to him, didn't you? Or then later on, she's like, "Oh, Alfred, I'm going to go out bike riding on my motorbike with some friends." Like, what? I didn't know you rode a motorbike. He's having a heart attack on the sofa while he's recovering.
He's just missed all the developments. Yeah.
Unless he's just such a grand chess master. He just knew that all this was going to happen in advance. He's proper, like, everything is proceeding as I have foreseen.
Well, I think we joked once. It turns out, he's the grandest villain of all in the Batman universe. He's behind everything.
That would have been Batman 5, but tragically never to be. I should say, though, because at the beginning of this partnership, we could never see what happens in the aftermath of this, but there was a sequel of sorts to Batman and Robin focusing on Batgirl that did give us a little window into how this partnership would go.
I realize what you mean now.
It was a children's book that was adapted into an audio drama called Batgirl to Dare the Darkness.
I saw that name, but I didn't read any of it. Have you read it?
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, you can get the audio version. There's a couple of versions of it up on YouTube, and it's actually been put up by friend of the show, Neil Ricketson from 1995batman.com. So if you go look it up, look at his version, because give the guy the views, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's written by, I can never pronounce this guy's name, Doug Moench, famous comic book writer from back in the 90s, wrote a lot for Nightfall and stuff. Also created Moon Knight.
Oh, yeah.
Who's having his own revival now, getting his own friggin' TV show. And probably be out by the time this episode airs. And he also invented the character Black Mask, which is weird because Black Mask is the villain in Batgirl to Dare the Darkness.
Everything's connected.
Yeah, we mentioned there was a Robin facing the enemy, which was, another tie-in sequel. Well, that was in between Forever and Batman and Robin. It was all about Robin having a fight with Batman and storming out and being his own man. And it's the usual crap that you get with Robin. And this, guess what the plot line to Batgirl to Dare the Darkness is?
Having a beef with Batman and deciding to go on her own?
Yep, that's exactly.
There you go.
These teams can never last more than 5 seconds. And these, how many times Chris O'Donnell, we know too, there was this Nightwing movie that was planned to make that it was, Robin and Batman would fall out. It's like, for the love of God,
I just want one movie where they're all on the same page.
Yeah. Or if they have a fight, they just know to keep it like professional and be like, okay, we just, we disagree about this, but we're still got a job to do and stuff. Instead of like, that's it, I'm out of here, man. But no, it's basically they had a whole thing at the beginning where Batgirl and Dick, should also say, have no idea who the voice cast of this audio drama is, but the girl is doing a pretty good impression of Alicia Silverstone. And the rest of it's all, the soundtrack sounds like more like The Brave and the Bold, and the guy doing Batman is kind of doing like a Diederik Bader voice, but this one years before Batman, The Brave and the Bold, so that's kind of weird, but although it could be that Batman, The Brave and the Bold is specifically like taking after like a 60s Batman cartoon or something. So they could be they're both getting it from that. But basically, there's a bunch of microchips coming in to the docks, and the team all get together to take them down. There's actually some good rapport between Batgirl and Robin, where they're doing like pirate impressions to each other, and it's like that's what I want to see, like them actually having like little jokey back and forth while Batman's brooding in the corner and like this isn't a joke, and being Batman about stuff. And then this awful, horrible, dated lines where at one point where they talk about these microchips send out elf waves. And Robin goes, "What's that for? Midget surfers?" It's just like,
oh, yikes.
And basically, it's all linked back then to Black Mask, who has a whole big scheme that just sounds like a Mad Hatter scheme, where he's got masks that will microchips in them that will control the human mind, turn people into zombies. And it's like that's in. I know that's in Arkham City, the game. Like that's the Mad Hatter thing. Is he's got freaking mask on people's faces to control their minds and stuff. And I'm pretty sure like most Mad Hatter stories are always about like, oh, he's got microchips in hats and stuff. So it seems a bit more like considering this guy created Black Mask, it's more of a Black Mask story or more of a Mad Hatter story than anything. But maybe he wanted to get drum up publicity for Black Mask, even though that character, like his whole thing is that he's a sadistic, incredibly violent character. So it doesn't suit the Schumacher-verse at all.
No, that would not work.
It's Doug Boninch's character. He can do what he wants with him, I guess. But yeah, eventually there's wheelings and dealings. Batgirl doesn't like the way she's been treated, so she has to strop. And it's just like, that's it, I'm out of here, man. Goes out to... There's just notable little bits like they're talking to Commissioner Gordon at one point, and Gordon completely ignores Batgirl, which is like, is this going to comment on the fact that it should be his daughter, but it's not? There's just no interactions between them at all.
Oh, you think it's like a deliberate kind of joke about the fact that it's a different person?
Yeah. It also adds to her like, well, what am I, chopped liver? Kind of like, why is he engaging with me? And then at one point she only met like this point where she's talking to Alfred, where she mentions that she's Barbara Wilson. That's the only indication that this is an actual continuation of Batman and Robin, because they have to specifically go like, yes, I am Barbara Wilson, and she's like mentions that she only put on the suit as a whim and it was never going to be a career path for her, but she's got an internship with Wayne Enterprises. So
nepotism.
Exactly. It's exactly what it is.
Oh yeah.
So they have has a strop, like runs out of the cave, but also, Bruce, can you give me a job? And says she's actually going back to university to study computers because, as she says, computers are cool.
Well, they are pretty cool, let's be honest, especially in the 90s.
And, that's right, and she is a computer genius.
Yeah. So she goes to work with a guy in Wayne Enterprises, a nerdly little doctor called Roman Sionis. Who, of course, if anyone knows DC Comics, Roman Sionis is the Black Mask. And yeah, the whole big befuddled things happens. She falls out with this, that, and the other. There's a big fight where Batman and Robin solve what's going on. I think Barbara she figures it out first, comes to Batman, and he's like, no, Roman Sionis is my friend, get the hell out of here. But then you find out that Batman actually does believe her, but he's just pushing her to see how far she'll go, because he's just kind of an ass that's
way. Manipulative, I don't know.
And then, it's a big final fight where they just take down Black Mask and stuff. It's you can tell it's for real small kids, because you think with mind control masks, okay, so Batman and Robin are going to get mind controlled by these masks at some point. That's why else would you introduce that? And they just don't. They're just like, no, it's just this, like maybe too scary for children or something, I guess. But yeah, at the end of that, then we just get the Batgirl bops Black Mask on the head to knock him out, and they just basically recreate this scene where they're like, all right, I am Batgirl.
Yay!
They're like, oh, well, okay, that was 34. It's only 34 minutes, but why?
We've already done this.
Yeah.
Although, does that have Alfred being hilarious like this does?
No, tragically, he's not played by Michael Gough either. It's a very different sounding guy. So maybe that was the one thing he's like, you know what? No.
Yeah.
I'll say yes to Diet Coke, but never to whatever the hell this thing is.
I love his line here, you know, we're going to need a bigger cave. It's actually terrible, but that's why I love it. It's like, because while he was ill, he was clearly laid up in bed watching a bunch of movies, and he really latched onto Jaws.
Onto Jaws, yeah.
I think that's the first time he ever saw any movies. He's like, these are wonderful. Have you seen this thing?
Master Bruce, a picture show.
It's wonderful.
I haven't seen these since the Basil Rathbone days.
Oh, God.
Whatever happened to that young whippersnapper, anyway?
Now he's turning into Mr. Burns. He's going to go check his stocks any minute.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Why didn't you tell me about this market crash? Well, it happened 30 years before I was born, Alfred.
Turns out Wayne Enterprises has no money because Alfred's not been checking.
I would love that, though. But yeah, Alfred lying in bed for the first time watching like all these classic movies where he's like, have you heard of Cool Hand Luke, Master Bruce?
I wonder if he'd get into the hip movies of the 90s. Like, there's another Godzilla coming out soon.
His Blair and Jamiroquai from his room after.
I'm going deeper under... That works in this movie, The Cave.
Deeper
Deeper underground.
Maybe that was.
But he says, we're gonna need a bigger cave, and it's like his voice cracks a little, and it's like it's the very last line of the movie, and you're going out with this. We're going to need a bigger cave. Like, do another take. You know, ADR. No,
it's also just a bad line.
On time, under budget. That's how they do it.
It's also just a bad line to go out on. It's like, so your last line of the movie is going to be a really bad joke that you've sort of stolen and changed from a classic film.
Like a wink to Jaws, a movie that has nothing to do with this movie. Like, at least link it in, like taking a line from Cool Hand Luke, because at least he's cool, so it's Mr. Freeze, or like ice cold in Alex or something.
Or if you'd had Thingy as the villain, what's his face? King Shark.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there you go. That would have been... You would have had to have had a bunch of Jaws references. And
Arnold Schwarzenegger should have played him.
Yeah. Maybe that was originally...
Not too late.
He originally was the villain, and then Arnie objected to it, so this went with like a copy and replace, or like search and replace King Shark, Mr. Freeze.
And just like we've talked about, you know, then it gets passed down, that character, to Stallone, who always gets the cast-offs.
Yeah, true. That's totally true. Yeah,
that line was so, you know, we're going to need a bigger boat, was so synonymous with the movie that I just I had seen Jaws as a kid or whatever, but when I first like sat down to watch it properly as an adult, I was so distracted because I thought that they did go back and get a bigger boat in the movie, and I was like, why are we wasting all this time? Why don't they get back to the shore already? You know, it's like, the movie's nearly over.
That'd be great, though. It's just like them coming back and they're like, all right, here we go. Just like in an aircraft carrier or something. Like, they should do it. But they should also mention, though, of course, in the spirit of everything's connected, it is apt that the much maligned fourth entry in a successful franchise references a line, you know, that would go on to have its own fourth entry in a much maligned fourth entry in a beloved franchise. But that fourth entry starred one Michael Caine, who would be the next Alfred, or the next big screen Alfred. You have TV Alfreds and stuff in between, but it'd be great. In the middle of the line, he starts to change. He's like, "We're going to need a bigger guy." What is happening?
It's like the Doctor. He's regenerating.
Yeah. That's the McGregor's cure. It's like, some slight regeneration. Yeah, that's
I forgot to tell you about this. Yeah, the phone goes all of a sudden. He's like, no, wait, don't take the cure. Don't. No. I screwed up.
Batman, if you take it, you could turn into that kid from Empire of the Sun or anything you don't know.
Oh, God.
Well, but yeah, it's I guess... It's a bad line to go out on, but at least it's Michael Gough who gets it, because he is like, he's been there since the beginning. He's had the 4 movies. He always was in the end scenes. Like, it's kind of nice that it goes back to being Alfred being the focal point, because they kind of sidestepped that slightly with Forever, where obviously the first movie we had him and Vicky Vale in the car, and Mr. Wayne told me to tell you he might be a little late. No, I'm not a bit surprised. Second movie, of course, him driving Bruce back, and then Merry Christmas, Alfred. Goodwill towards all men and women.
And he's stroking the cat, which isn't a euphemism.
Yep. Which we found out, of course, in the 89 comics, that cat's still around. Listen to our reviews on Patreon. But Forever, then they had Alfred was in the background as Bruce was talking to Chase, and then they had that like, oh, don't work too late, or don't stay up too late, or don't stay out too late, whatever it was, the last line. And yeah, he didn't get the kind of focus he deserved. Like the car was there, Alfred was there, it was a nice uniform ending. And this one, the car is gone, but it's all Alfred now, I guess. He gets the big final hurrah of the... I'll say hurrah. The last of the movie as it goes out. But, but I will say at least Joel Schumacher is like, well, in case we don't make another one, just make sure Alfred says the last line.
Well, plus I get the impression he's maybe... if he hadn't died, I don't think he would have done another one anyway. I think he's...
I don't know, man.
Tired.
I think like he lived another 14 years.
He didn't do many more movies though, did he?
He did them right up until like the year he died. Yeah.
You know what? At the beginning of this, we probably went through a big list of them as well, and I've forgotten them all.
Yeah, but you got two Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland and Corpse Bride. He's in both of those. Although to be fair, those are voice roles.
And Sleepy Hollow.
And Sleepy Hollow. Well, yes, of course.
It's another one. Completely forgot about all of those. Holy crap!
This Tim Burton was just like, he won't let me rest.
Well, we know Tim Burton won't, because he got bloody Christopher Lee.
That's right.
Was it Dark Shadows, was it?
Yeah, the kid literally cannot stand up, but he's in the movie. And Tim's like, yeah, I mean, Michael, I had him freaking hanging up Christmas lights in Batman Returns. He's in great shape. Like, please just let me rest, dude.
It's like Mrs. Doyle fixing the room.
Now I need her to play a gender-flipped Alfred.
Oh, yeah,
Allie.
that'd be perfect. Allie.
Yeah. But then, so we move, we get a nice close up of actually, you always have the dynamic duo. You guys know what the three guys together?
Terrific trio.
The terrific trio, or the triumphant trio, which would...
Triumphant, I think, would be better. Yeah.
I hate both.
I was just spitballing.
That would be because I know there's all debate about whether the next one was going to be called Batman Unchained or Batman Triumphant. Batman Triumphant would have worked.
Unchained is so ridiculous.
Oh, it's awful.
Implying that he was chained in previous versions.
Yeah, this is the radical Batman now, because that you're getting to the year 2000. Unchained. Yeah,
it's Batman off the chain.
It's dark and it'll have a new metal song on the soundtrack instead of just the Pumpkins.
It would have been. This is like, Pumpkins is like a gateway. It's like Limp Bizkit's are right around the corner.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, they would have done it. They totally would have.
Yeah, but Batman Triumphant would have worked though, because it'd been like, well, the Triumphant Trio. So even though that is a terrible dynamic duo, I don't know, maybe I've just heard it more. But like Triumphant Trio is just like,
no, that's crap.
Okay.
That is worse, definitely.
Yeah, Triumphant Trio is kind of, it's too tied to the end of a story. Like, it can only be at the end. They're not, like, Batman and Robin are dynamic all the way through every story, whether they're being, whether they're tied to a table with a laser about to kill them, in the down part of the, next time, will they survive kind of moments. They're still dynamic, whereas they're not triumphant. You're
only triumphant once you've won.
Triumphant is too, so it's too tied to, but then you're kind of left with terrific, and that's kind of rubbish as well. So so just don't have three people.
Hey, you guys, do you know what a group of bats is called?
I do not.
Right, I did, and I don't remember. This is really bugging me. Oh my god, it's on the tip of my tongue.
It's a cauldron.
Yes,
a cauldron of bats.
Yeah, so they could have been like the caped cauldron, but then Robin would ruin it because well, he's not a bat, he's a bird.
Plus, you'd have to explain it to people. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't really explain Domino Dare Doll to people, I guess.
Well, that's crap as well.
But yeah, I don't know. I would have gone for caped cauldron over. But then other people will be like, "What? I'm just getting an image of a cauldron with a cape hanging off the back of it. That's what the hell's that?"
And it's an altogether different kind of, it just conjures up medieval or kind of like, the three witches in Macbeth or what, it's the wrong vibe. The Black Cauldron.
Yeah. Or like a sex cauldron. I thought they closed that place down. Well, actually would work with Joel Schumacher's Batman, I guess.
Could we rename the Facebook group to the Batminute Sex Cauldron?
Yeah, between seasons, why not?
Actually, no. After the last time we changed the name. No.
Yeah. Make it
You
really
won't be able to change it back.
having to hang a sign over my bed like, "Do not change the name on April Fool's Day again." I know, just in case you forget this year, do not do it again.
Tell you what, though, it was funny.
Oh, it was like we had more engagement that month than we've had in the entire run of the show. But yeah, so then we do get to talk about things being like uniform and stuff. Nice little throwback to the end of Batman Forever, which in itself was a throwback to the opening of the 60s TV show. But
which makes even more sense in this movie because it's going for that vibe, but even more so.
Yeah.
You could have even done some 60s-esque music, but to be honest, the music that comes in is awesome.
Yeah. The weird thing is, though, because in the 60s TV show, you never got, like, Batgirl, when she was added in, to put her in the opening titles, they basically had, like, the end shot of the Batmobile coming forward. They'd have her bike zoom out in front of it. Like, to the side. It's very, like, Jesus, that's reckless. Like, Batman should be like, "She almost killed us." But so they should technically have Batman and Robin doing their thing, and then Batgirl zooming past on a bike or something on top of the building. But
yeah,
I mean, this does look really good, though. I'll give them that. It's a nice progression too, and presumably if like the fifth movie had introduced like Ace the Bat Hound or something. The dog would have been running towards the screen as well.
And I would have done a great gag where they have to stop for a second to pick up its poo.
That's like something Adam West's Batman would make no point in fouling the pavement.
Yeah.
Robin, we must think of the citizens.
Yeah. It would be like, but we're in a hurry, Batman. Like, Robin, cleanliness is next to godliness, and every citizen has the responsibility to clean up after their pet.
Hey, and it's true. If you've got a dog, people, pick it up.
We'll say as well, though, there is a notable improvement over the end of Batman Forever here. Ooh. In that they must have friggin' glued the cowl to this guy's head.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a slight wobble in the ears, but like
Yes, I noticed the ears.
But the major distraction at the end of Forever is ridiculous. That it's just like bopping all back and forth the whole time. I was like, no.
Maybe Clooney's like, I saw the end of that movie. We're not doing that again.
They probably would have got, like, in the aftermath, people were like, yeah, it was really goofy, though, at the end when his head, or Schumacher was sitting there at the premiere, like, oh God, no! Like,
we didn't realize how
floppy it was.
Yeah,
but so this must have been like some poor extra or stuntman or something. It's just like, okay, so we're gonna literally hot glue this to your head, and don't worry, we'll get it removed later. But like, we have to make sure it stays on tight, man, because otherwise this shot ain't worth it.
The thing is, they couldn't remove it, and they were never planning to, so they just shot him and threw him in a ditch.
Well, of course, yeah.
As is the way with film studios.
That's why as we go through we'll get into it in the credits minutes, John. Every time we come to a working person, like, oh, they stopped working in 1997, must be dead. So.
Yeah. There's a few of them in these credits coming up as well, I think.
Yeah, this always is that little impulse of like, oh, stop working in 2003. I guess they're dead. Couldn't have just retired.
Nobody gets to retire. No. Nobody gets to have a nice, few decades.
Like if we ever stop podcasting, one of us is dead.
Yeah.
But we'll say also too,
no, you're like sharks. If you stop podcasting, you'll die. Like sharks,
Yeah, they all podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this difference though I was talking about with that I wanted to bring up to Chrysanthi, but damn it, they managed to duck me again. Is that I mentioned at the end of Batman Forever they bring in the Batman March, but I always felt, even since I was a little kid, that it ends on a weirdly sinister tone, because it goes, da, 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 And then it ends on the note of da, 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 bon, da, da, da.
This is
And
beautiful.
I always thought it had a little vibe of like dun,
Niall,
dun, dun.
I could listen to that all day.
But I always felt like that was like that's a sinister. It's kind of got a vibe of like watch out, criminals, because the dark, weird creature of the night, the Batman, is coming for you. It has an element of like darkness just in the character. And I mentioned this to Chrysanthi, and they were like, "No, that's like it's just an entirely heroic theme. I don't see what you're talking about." And I was like, "No, but it's you as a musician must see." And they were like, "No, that's not there at all." And I was kind of like, I can't believe this. And but then they changed the music here to make it sound more lighthearted and more triumphant, as it were, because it ends on that
Vindicating your point of view.
Yeah, I felt like this one was like, well, this is a lighter movie. So we don't end on that, which I don't think is even in the movie at all. Like that was a recurring motif in Forever. I think they exercised it from the score entirely.
I don't remember hearing it in this.
And so I wanted to have Chrysanthi cornered, but no. I'm sure they would have had a good comeback. I wouldn't have had anything.
This is where you reveal that young Niall actually consulted on this picture. And that's why it's changed, because you pointed that out.
But the thing is, though, as it cuts the credits, it's a bit lamer than Batman Forever, and I don't know if it is the music or if it's just the way. Because I unabashedly love Batman.
I was going to say a bit lamer is your general opinion of this movie.
yeah, but that has a note of finality to it, and it has and it does that and it zooms in and then goes to black, and there's silence. And then you get the bat symbol come up, and then you get the U2 coming in, and it really feels like, oh, that was an event. Like that was an ending right there. This kind of feels like until next time, I guess. Like just kind of going out in that dun 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 dun, and then the credits are already rolling. Like they've already got a bunch of credits up. It's like, oh, we're not even done. And then as soon as that sounds like no space, just straight into Smashing Pumpkins, and it's like,
time's money.
Yeah, it really does feel like we want to wrap this up. So
that's lunch.
This was weirdly, as the final movie, this is the one that feels the most like it has the least amount of finality in the ending to me. It just really feels like, and now it's over.
Oh yeah. I mean, obviously we've talked about how they were planning another movie, but it's very evident that they were. It's not like, oh, we're going to take a bit of a break. It's like no.
That's just so, because all the Batman movies are so like the next movie we think we're going to be doing is Mask of the Phantasm. That is a freaking great final scene. And it has always, in all Batman movies, nearly all of them uniformly end on a kind of like, that was fantastic. But like, yeah, this one just really feels like, you've got a better framing and you got less head wobble. And I love that it's a uniform, like, yep, this is how these movies end now. But it's also just like,
It's quite funny though, this one has less head wobble and it's George Clooney.
George Clooney, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
Maybe that's why they had like it's like
to stop
Schumacher. It's like I'm not taking any risks. If I had him in there without any glue, that head would be flipping, zapping and dipping and bopping all over the goddamn place.
He broke many a cowl.
He'd be taking out Chris O'Donnell's eye like with his ear.
He can't help himself.
Yeah. But that much like though. The beloved Alicia Silverstone character of Cher Horowitz would say, "We're outie. We're out of the movie now.
I don't have an outie, but we're outie.
We're outie 5,000.
It's sad to me. I'm very sad. What a journey we've been on all these years.
Yeah. This is one of those things I was having to tell myself when writing the notes. Like, we'll be doing more. But it does have a real thing of like, this is the last of those first four. So.
The end of an era. We're going to be saying that again. When we do the final minute of this in the credits, but it really is.
And then the next movie is the beginning of an era.
Yeah, it's the dawning of a new era. Everybody play the special song now.
The end is the beginning is the end.
Yeah. There isn't much about the associate producer here, Mitchell. Oh God, I'm going to butcher his name. Mitchell Dotrieve or Dotrieve. I thought it was very interesting to me as a history fan, as a Chinese movie fan, as somebody who just bought the first one. He produced the historical epic Red Cliff 2. but only 2, which is weird. But I've just got hold of the first one because it was on a list of like, these are the best Chinese movies in the last 20 years. And it's like Red Cliff.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I remember when it came out, nobody seemed to care about it.
I think maybe he's just getting in though, like on the piggybacking on the success of Red Cliff 1.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, I produced 2. Yeah, I'm all over it. Yeah,
But he tells people, I produced Red Cliff. Yeah. And like, oh, 1 or 2. Damn it.
One of them. Well, that's the name though, Dotrieve. Just makes me think of Bill Dotrieve from King of the Hill.
Yes.
So every time it's like, oh, is that like that loser Bill from the Stephen Root character from King of the
He's
Hill?
named that in King of the Hill in homage to this guy. Yeah, that's a true fact. True fact that I didn't make it up.
Yeah, I mean, it could be one of those ones I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, yeah, because it's such an unusual name.
It is.
So it would be like, well, I had to be named after someone. But I mean, I guess all the notes I got. Actually, the only final note I had is this: at the end of the novelization, it actually ends on. People remember way back at the opening episode of this particular season, I talked about one of my pet hates is works of fiction using the analogy or the metaphor of a storm is coming, and it's the opening line of the Batman and Robin novelization. And Michael Jan Friedman, love him, came on the show, very great guy. Just had to bite my tongue when I came to that. But of course, the end of the novelization has Barbara looking up to the sky and saying, "Look, the bat signal," and then it says. Bruce turned and saw it emblazoned on the blanket of clouds. They appear to have thickened and darkened over the last few minutes, as if gathering over some mighty outburst. A storm coming, he thought. In Gotham, it seemed, there was always a storm coming.
Hey, that's the kind of cheese that suits it.
Yeah, but this time,
I mean,
he wouldn't have to weather it alone.
Oh, weather it. That's good.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so like that's all right. I'll give you that. I'll forgive it for that one. But noted hack Chris Nolan, when you do it in Dark Knight Rises in 2012, no fucking way.
Well, he's clearly stealing from that book.
Yeah, but anyway. But Austin, do you have any notes for end credit stuff or?
No, I was just expecting to be asked the reviled, revered question.
Yeah, that's what we'll be getting to here. As Batman and Robin is one of the most reviled films of all time, we are asking the guests what the worst movie they've ever seen is. So, what do you got, Austin?
Oh, well, I hadn't thought of it. No, obviously I've been listening, and I've all through this season I've been listening, and I am a silly, strange man who pauses podcasts to kind of talk to them and answer them and think about like what would I say, because like one half of it is pretty easy, the like movie you hated that everybody loved, but then like every time I think of films that I've defended that that's a much tougher one, because I think maybe I'm too kind of led by consensus or by the credible critics and what they say or whatever, because I can't really. I'll go through a few, but there's one kind of clear winner for a movie that I don't know if everybody talks about it now as being great, but at the time I felt like a lone voice, and it is a comic book movie, although not a superhero movie. Sin City.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I hate that
really?
movie. and I kind of I went to see it with my wife and another couple, friends of ours, and I was just sitting through it and just like it just kind of turned my stomach. It was so just grim for the sake of it, and kind of just relentlessly awful, negative, and with no kind of spark, and all of this like super self-conscious kind of pretentious filmmaking with the we're going to make it exactly like the comic. It's going to be black and white, and then there's going to be splashes of red or splashes of yellow depending on the story. It's just like There's no cursing on this show. Just flip off. Take a hike.
Don't watch the sequel, then.
Yeah. I mean, but also like, it's really an amazing example of how different those two media are. Of how you can't take something from the page and put it on the screen because it's going to look and feel utterly ridiculous and kind of unfitting for the tone. Because like, number one is the comic book is literally black and white. There's no gray. So you can't do that on screen when you're filming real objects with real contours, you know? So that just looks weird and has that very kind of just digital process thing of like, oh, we can manipulate colors now because of digital color correction. Let's just go wild and you know, they didn't they got so preoccupied with the fact that they could, they never thought, you know, stop to think if they should. I need to get that quote right. I've been using it on podcasts and I never get it. But I just, after about 40 minutes, I nudged my wife and said, I think I'm going to leave. And she said, oh, thank Christ, because she was having exactly the same reaction. So we both just headed out, and I just felt like slightly sick, you know, just that kind of moral revulsion. And I know the film is like, supposedly it's showing the dark underbelly and it's meant to be, you know, edgy and dark and all that, but it was like, it was so cartoonishly stupid about it that it was just like, there was nothing to redeem it. And then, yeah, like, if you see in a comic book that a guy is being a kind of a corrupt cop, or no, like a cop who'll do anything, including torturing people to get the information or whatever, uncompromising, tough cop, you know, and he drives along and pushes a guy's face off the road. Yeah. Like, in a comic book, that's ludicrous and over the top. On screen, when you're seeing physical actors doing it, it's like, well, his face would be mush. His brains are going to be all over the place. What am I watching?
That's why it's fun.
Why is this happening? This is just, the film could never have been made if it wasn't a comic book first, and if somebody didn't have this kind of silly concept that they stuck to doggedly of, we will just make this exactly on screen. You know, it's like, that's not an adaptation. That's just, you know, look at what you've made and imagine this was just a movie to start with. You know, now hang your head in shame. Okay, that's Sin City. But I don't know, like, what, John, you're into it. You're defending it. What do you feel now? Because I kind of feel nobody talks about this film anymore, and I feel kind of vindicated.
I think part of that is probably to do with the sequel. I love it, mostly for the reasons you've said, because it's so ridiculous. It's so absurd. The visuals are unique. You know, there's nothing looks like it. You know what you're watching. If that's on the TV, you're like, oh, Sin City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, though, because
performances.
Yeah, no, I quite enjoy the first Sin City. Again, it's all those sort of things. It's like, well, it exists in this sort of bizarre universe where you can put a guy's face to the road as you're driving along and it won't destroy his whole head and stuff. It's just like, there's a bit where a guy, Nicky Cat from this very movie, gets shot through the friggin' chest with an arrow and just kind of walking around going like, what the hell? Like, what's happening here? Like, you just sort of have to accept that as a thing. And although it's weird because, like, Robert Rodriguez, he's been getting a real knock recently, in my circles recently, because, like, he did that episode of Book of Boba Fett with the, like, geriatric car chase that was just, like, so goddamn slow.
Which I loved. I didn't have a problem with that.
Just like the amount of people who, like, I know a guy who's been on the show, Jonathan Howell, just turned around and was like, yeah, Robert Rodriguez is a terrible director. I've always hated him. He's awful. He cannot direct.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought he was like I had no problem with Robert Rodriguez. It's like, I always enjoyed his film.
He made Planet Terror, one of my favorite films.
Yeah, but I don't know now. Is the tide finally turning on Robert Rodriguez? Where after he survived all those Spy Kid movies, but now people are like, wait a minute.
I mean, I think he's kind of. I don't want to dogpile just because I haven't really watched that many of his films. I have always felt that way about him, but because I haven't, done the due diligence and gone through his filmography, I don't feel like I would just be dogpiling, you know, and I wouldn't be like coming from an informed position. But like, yeah, that is always how I felt about him. And, you know, and like, I just think, yeah, Dusk Till Dawn is overrated. And yeah, all that stuff. I never had a taste for it. And yeah, and like Sin City is just like, yeah, it's really misogynistic as well.
Yeah,
and it just
well,
and
it is
again, it's
hard.
like that's meant to be the world of it and everything. Okay, I get it. You're reflecting, you know, the ills of our society by just being them. You know, okay.
It was written by our old friend Frank Miller. It was not got a great track record.
No,
that kind of thing.
not really.
But we'll say to your point, John. Yeah, nothing looks like Sin City except one of the worst films I've ever seen.
Oh, I think I know what you're going to say.
With Frank Miller's The Spirit.
Yeah.
Which was,
That one does look like it, to be fair.
Dear Lord.
And that was a movie I didn't walk out of in the cinema, but I desperately wanted to. I was with a friend, and it was just like, I can't go. I came with a guy. I can't leave.
Isn't Samuel L. Jackson dressed as a Nazi in it?
Yeah. It's awful. It's like the guy who starred in it too. I don't think he ever made another movie because it was just like
you never work in this town again. You hear?
But that one was really like, oh my god, it was unbearable. But
yeah,
but
I watched it on a laptop and was able to kind of skip through, and so I didn't watch it. I just wanted to see how bad it was. Just like lean in and just hate watch it. It was great.
Yeah. But to end things on a more positive note, though, Austin, we do, of course, ask the guests what a movie is that they love that the rest of the world regards as being bad.
Well, yeah, this one, I don't know if I can think of one that I can stand over. I have this history of defending films for a long time and then kind of caving because I go, oh, maybe I didn't have a point, you know. And a very prominent example is like I spent, you know, between the cinema release and pretty much the VHS release of The Phantom Menace, I spent my time making myself believe I liked it and trying to defend it to others and stuff, and then, you know, the slow dawning realization that maybe not. And just because Star Wars meant so much to me, and I was so glad it was back, and I was just like, yeah, rode that wave. And then I was kind of thinking of like films that I've defended over the years, and I wonder now what I would think of them if I go back, like King Kong, like Peter Jackson's King Kong. I was like absolutely defending that to the hilt. And I haven't gone back in years.
It's dangerous too.
Yeah, and I know the guys, and I'm definitely want to be on and stake my claim to a spot on the King Kong Minute that is being done these days, I think, or is being done soon. And I'm dying to go back and see what I think of that movie and I'm also, there's a bit of trepidation as well because I don't know if I'll be so crazy about it. And then The Dark Knight Rises, I've always defended and liked, and I don't know what you guys are kind of mixed on that one.
I really didn't like it in the cinema, and that's the only time I've seen it. But I get the impression maybe I'd be a bit softer on it these days because I've come around a bit to the stupid Bane voice. It's still stupid, but now I go, okay, it's stupid.
Yeah, no, I do defend Dark Knight Rises a lot, but it is very much I had to adjust to it. Yeah, I had to take a lot of like, okay, so I guess now I have to reshift a couple of things in my mind. The way this universe was being set up, and now I find out that no, it was just always going to be this concise trilogy, I guess, and this is the ending of that. It's like, okay, I thought Batman Begins seemed to be setting up the whole Batman universe, and now I was like, oh no, it's two movies. That was that was the end of that.
Yeah.
But no, I defend a lot of it. And I love the Bane voice. I love Tom Hardy's portrayal in it. Love all the stuff in the pit. I love a lot of that movie.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. I'm actually and now that you say that, I know I've heard you saying a lot of that stuff during it, and I do kind of go, no, I do. Yeah, but they're all big ones. I can't really think of some like obscure little gem that I'm, the only defender of or whatever. The Last Jedi was another one, but that kind of has good critical consensus, and I stand by that one. And that's like, you know,
Same.
I have my issues with it and whatever, but like that's just a vocal minority, let's say, that are really. And the only other one I can think of is the most recent one, and this is a good experiment because I like a lot of films when I see them first and shortly after. And I just recently saw Matrix Resurrections, and I think that's good.
Yeah, I really liked it.
And I don't like the Matrix movies in general. I even don't like the first one in a lot of ways. And I know. Yeah, so Resurrections for me is like, am I gonna hate this one? Because I'm watching it going like, this is working for me, you know. What's the consensus on that? Do people hate that
It's
one?
very mixed. Very
It's
mixed.
very mixed.
Yeah.
It's even mixed here. No, John loved it. I did not care for it. So
Really?
yeah.
I thought I thought every time they showed footage of the Matrix movies and pretended it was a video game, was like, that was a very weird choice. It's like, why didn't you make it look like a video game? Why didn't you just like render them in an engine? You know, like just make them the same shots, but just have them, and like, and all the way through, you're like, well, were they all cutscenes? Because they looked like movies.
Yeah.
That was just a niggling kind of production question. But the weird kind of plot of it, I was like, I'm digging this. So like now I've put that on record. In 2 years' time, I could be listening to this. Go, what the hell was I talking about? Yeah.
Now my whole thing was because I beyond the first movie and the Animatrix, I don't care for the Matrix movies at all. And then so the first chunk of it being like, oh, it's Wes Craven's new nightmare, but with the Matrix. And it seemed to be indicating that it didn't want to exist. Like it was kind of like Lana Wachowski putting the cards on the table going, look, I came up with this idea, sure, after like my parents passed and stuff. But the reason I'm making this is because they were going to make another one without me anyway. So,
yeah, and it says that. Like our parent company, Warner Brothers, even goes like, our parent company, Warner Brothers. He doesn't just say the parent company are saying they'll do it with or without us.
Like it's cute and all, but it's also like, so you don't really want to be making this. And then it's like, and they throw in, they tease you with a little bit of Christina Ricci, not in the rest of the movie. I was like, where the f*** was that? You got me excited to see her.
No, yeah.
And then just when it moved into the second half, then when it was just all, this is a love story between Trinity and Neo, and I've seen people saying like it was beautiful that this massive budget movie was just a love story, and I was like, never cared about that romance, didn't care about the characters.
You're dead inside.
Wow.
Yeah, it's none of it. Like towards the end, I was like, please just stop. Like I was not invested at all in any of it, but I know John loved it, so that's
and I'm always right. We should head off now into the dark night. Because Niall, you're gonna have to edit this a lot. Holy crap! Look at the time.
There'll be a lot of rigorous editing.
Austin, would you like to tell people where you can be found online, promote your show, promote anything you like?
Yeah. So just head on out to malkovichminute.net. And just subscribe, and then when the new episode, you now can binge on the 25 existing episodes, and then when the new episodes come out, you'll be the first to know. And then if you want to hear more of this particular trio, but flipping the roles where I'm the host and these two Bat-Minute beings are my guests, then you want to listen to Silverado Minute, or at least the first week of that. And so that's this annual project that Jim O'Kane does, where we have all these different movies and all these different MXM hosts come on and do a stint. And I was the host for the first week, and had great chats with these two messers. Yeah. So silveradominute.com. That will have started by the time you hear this.
Check all of that out, everybody. And Austin's upcoming Sin City Minute. Which I am surprised someone hasn't done that, actually. But there it is. Nobody's talking about it. You're right.
Yeah. Well, I'll be on if somebody does it.
Somebody
you can do a Robert Black of just like Sin City sucks. Here's the podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do come on for minute 41. It's like I haven't seen this. I left the cinema with this point.
That'll be perfect. You'll end up loving it. You're like, oh, it got great after minute 40.
It just completely turned. Yeah.
I think it was Jonathan Howell who was on this season who said, like, I've not seen these minutes of Batman and Robin because I walked out of the cinema back in 97.
Wow.
So
Wow.
weirdly appropriate there.
A lot of people have that story with this movie, but I love it. And again, I'm always right. So do come and speak to me where I am always right on Facebook at the Bat-Minute Listeners Cave, Twitter at Bat-Minute, Instagram the Bat-Minute. What else should we plug today? Go to the website, thebatminute.com. I don't plug that hardly ever because it's basically just the episodes. We're going to go sue Warner Brothers and we'll see you again for minute 121.
Next time, Melancholy and the Infinite Credits. The beginning of the end has the end of the beginning is the end, as our MCs are met with an immense mishmash of monikers to attend. There's a new cavalcade of cast and crew to get down the hatch, but which reacquainted accomplices will aid our anchors through this particular pumpkin patch? The names number upwards of 1979. Next time, Batmites. Same Batpod. Different Bat-Minute. We'll
be back.